I think that Sindhura not getting to go meet the president is kind of ridiculous. I mean, she's been with us the entire way, and we've always been a team of 9. We've always gone everywhere together, and we've been through everything together. And the fact that we started off together, but we're not going to finish together, is something that I don't really like at all. You know, it's not fair that the 8 of us get to go, plus whoever else ended up coming with us, but one person that really competed on the team and really did a lot this year doesn't get to reap that reward. I think that it is harder to judge the situation because it's not like you have an evil that you're fighting. It's just a situation where the school can't afford to pay for it, but it's the fact that people aren't willing to look for other ways to get her there, that the evil that we're really fighting is ourselves and our inability to, care about the situation. We're fighting the fact that some people are just willing to let her stay behind when she really should go with us. She deserves to go with us. And, that's what we're fighting, is that, there's other ways to get her there. There's airlines that we can call. There's events that we can put on to raise money. There is demands that we can make by giving up our ticket to make sure that she will go no matter what. But, people aren't willing to do the things that it takes to get her there. My methodology has always been do something. It doesn't matter if it's the best thing that you can do, but as long as you're doing something, then it's better than doing nothing. And, that's kind of, a lot of our team doesn't really seem, they give their condolences, but they don't really seem to want to do anything. And, something has to be done, because if it was somebody like Austin, of course everybody's going to want to help him because, he was our number 1 scorer, and nobody's going to leave him behind. And I think everybody has to have that attitude that, she's coming or I'm not coming. I think if one person said that I'm not going unless Sindhura goes, then I think that wouldn't do anything. They would just leave that person behind. But if the entire team said we're not going unless Sindhura goes, the coaches aren't going to take themselves to go meet the president. That's pointless. They would never do that. So if we all banded together and worked as a team, as we have over the past year, then obviously we could get something done about Sindhura. In every moment in history where radical change has taken place, it's not because people are witnessing an injustice and standing there and doing nothing about it. It's because somebody realizes that there's a problem and they stand up for what they know is right. And it may seem kind of far-fetched to compare, the American Revolution to this situation, but it's the same idea that if somebody doesn't stand up against it, then the injustice is just going to keep going. We have people that have been there for us the whole way, and those are our substitutes. But when it comes down to it, who studied for 12 hours a day? Who sat there and had to read the material 20 times, 30 times? Who had to deal with the intense pressure of the competition, the feeling, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail? And who had to deal with that 3 separate times for city, state, and nationals? It was Austin, Celine, June, Harsamar, Eugene, Shagun, Ricky, myself, and Sindhura. Those are the people that deserve to go to the White House the most. They got the entire experience, the good things and the bad things. It's nice to reward everybody that's helped us along the way, but when it comes down to it, who really deserves it? The people that worked incredibly hard for it, or the people that were our support but didn't have to go through everything that we had to go through? We all care about our coaches immensely. They've done a lot for us, and we definitely appreciate them. But coaches are also our teachers, and as teachers, their job is to sacrifice to make sure that students get what they need to do well in the future. And as teachers, if you really think about it, is this going to benefit you more, or is this going to benefit Sindhura more? Yeah, you'll get to say to your friends, oh, I met the president, but this young girl is going to get to say that to her friends, and that's going to help her get into places that may not be available to her. she's going to have that cool story, that connection that can help her out later in life. As a teacher, it might just be your responsibility to make that sacrifice to say, you know what, I recognize my place as a teacher, and, I'm going to pay for my ticket, or I'm not even going to go because it's more important that she goes. When it comes down to Washington, D.C., we really only need one supervisor there. We only need one adult to ensure that we get there and back safely. And, it's awful to say, but as much as Ms. Howellman's done for us, she's been a huge support. As much as Ms. De La Torre has organized for us and gotten meetings for us and everything like that, and as much as Mr. Bauer has been supportive and helped us get our celebrations after we've won everything, it's not as important than the girl that sacrificed a lot of her life, that sacrificed a lot of her time, that studied for a whole year just to meet the president. It's not as important that the adults go than as the students go. Her main motivation was meeting Obama. I mean, there were other extraneous things that pushed her to do well, but she always went into competition with the idea, I want to meet the president. I thought that was going to be a cool experience, but that was never my main motivation. And nobody else on the team had that as their main motivation. I don't think it's fair to have the one person that truly cared about this experience not there. I think that if the main problem is that the school is worried about how much money they're going to get to give to the kids for this new decathlon season, that, there's ways that we can raise money through events, and I think that everybody on the team should be willing to try to get money for Sindhura by doing alumni events or fundraisers or whatever it takes, because, we've been through so much together, and if you're not willing to do that, then, you're kind of selfish, because we've gone through so much as a team, and to not finish it as a team, that's wrong. Half of the problem is that, everybody values Sindhura as a person, but as a part of the team, she didn't count for the score, so maybe some people don't see the issue that, she was a vital part of the team. Without her, I wouldn't have scored as well as I did. So I don't know if that motivates anybody who thinks that I'm a vital part of the team, but I see her as just as vital as anybody else. And, if it were Austin that were missing in some other country, and, the school had no way to pay for him, I guarantee, because his score was the best out of all of ours, that everybody would be willing to get him to the White House. And, I think everybody should see it as Sindhura being Austin, because honestly, score doesn't count. She did everything that we did, and she tried her best, just like all the rest of us. There are a lot of expenses that we can cut to make sure that we have extra money available to go towards Sindhura. We don't have to stay in those nice hotel suites that we've been staying in. We don't have to have that premium go out to dinner $15, $20 a person meal. That stuff's great, but would you rather eat a nice meal or have your best friend sitting at the table with you? I know for me, I'd rather have somebody that I love sitting at the table with me. It's not about all that extraneous stuff, but we have to be willing to cut all those things that we don't really need, and we have to show the administration that we are willing to do that, because I think they're assuming that, it's okay to spend $100 to pay for all of our food, but we have to tell them, we're going to take care of the food. We'll pack our own lunches. We'll bring our own money to buy our own food. We'll help pay for the hotel rooms. Just get Sindhura here. A Motel 6 costs like $50 to stay in, and when I went to Alaska with my troop, we stayed in a hostel. It's like $20 a night. I mean, it may not be a 5-star resort, but I'm willing to make the sacrifice that we all stay in a hostel, we sleep 8 to a room to get her there. We can go to McDonald's and eat off the dollar menu. We don't have to have a nice steak dinner or P.F. Chang's or something like that, We can rent a tiny little car instead of getting a huge van and have to make 3 trips. It doesn't really matter that, all those expensive things that we normally do. We don't need that. We need Sindhura. At open house, when we were trying to raise money for nationals, we raised something like $500 out of thin air. We weren't selling anything. We were just asking people for money. And I don't see how it's going to be that much harder to ask people to help us send Sindhura to DC. There are numerous ways that we can get money for Sindhura. There's obviously selling things like bake sales or chocolate fundraisers. There can be car washes. And then you start getting into more creative things, like we can go back to the Wasserman Foundation and say, you know how you met up with us and you said you cared about what we were doing? Well, prove it. We could go to past Granada alumni and ask, do you really care about the school that you went to? If you do, can you help us out? We can offer them the chance to go back to Granada, relive their high school days, and kind of reminisce about what they've done in high school and what they've done since high school, and they'd be helping a good cause. There are so many ways that we can get money for Sindhura. We just have to be willing to try. There's an alumni group on Facebook for previous Granada students, and there's something like 1,500 people that are on the group. And if we all go out there and start asking people, will you help us donate to this cause? They don't even need to donate that much money. It's like $1 or $2 per person, and there you have $1,500. It's not that hard, but it can be done. Although a ticket from India to DC and back to India is going to be about $2,000, it's not like we have to come up with all of that on our own. Granada already said that they were going to pay the $500 that it would take if she was still back in LA. And so that leaves us with $1,500 to raise. When we got recognized at City Hall, there was a group of Crenshaw students that were going to China, and they mentioned that their airline fees were waived. They got 50 students to fly to China and back for free. That's 50 students to China and back. Imagine how much money that is. All we're asking for is one student from India to DC. That's nothing compared to 50 students. If we were all calling different airlines and finding out how we can get the same kind of group discount or how we can get some sort of sympathy from an airline company, there is a guarantee that that would work. Because if some airline's willing to send 50 kids, why not one? If we're planning to take 3 administrators, 3 coaches, 3 substitutes, and 8 of the 9 decathletes all the way to DC, that's about 15 or 16 tickets. Most airline companies have some sort of group discount, and with 15 or 16 tickets, we probably qualify for it. There's some way to contact the airline to see if our group discount can be the extra $1,500 to get Sindhura here. Those of us that have maybe stood up against the idea that we were just going to let her not come, it's a valid point. That's my opinion. And I know everybody is upset that she's not going to be there, but I'm standing up and saying I'm more than upset. I'm outraged. That's not fair. And, that's my right to say that. And, I understand that the school is in a tough financial spot, that they can't necessarily pay for it. And that's not where the issue is coming from. I understand that. But I also know that there are other ways to get money, and there are other ways to support her, and some people aren't willing to do that, or they're not showing that they're willing to do it. And that's what I have a problem with, because it's a team effort, and I don't see that here. It may sound like I'm calling people out, and I'm saying you don't deserve to go, but that's not the case. I'm just saying that the school needs to prioritize who actually competed versus who was supportive of us, but didn't have to go through everything. And in a perfect world, obviously, we would have everybody go because everybody was vital to our